Okay. So let's see, what are we getting into today? I am going to be doing some quick prep work on the creature here so I can get it ready for texturing. And then what we'll do is we'll see if we can get this new mesh with the new UVs over into ZBrush. I kind of made a little bit of a mistake because I started projecting the model onto the new mesh, but this mesh doesn't have UVs. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to redo some work here. I was kind of looking forward to just getting started on the final sculpting refinements because reprojecting this area, like all this stuff in the mouth, was kind of horrible. You can see I still have issues that I didn't clean up there before. The mesh likes to, like, in these tight little spots, the mesh likes to crisscross the geometry, and I get these little spikes of see these little artifacts that I have to come in and clean up one by one. Pretty annoying, but it happens. So I will have to deal with that again a little bit. But the good thing about it is once I am done reprojecting, the new mesh is all totally cleaned up and updated, and yeah, I can just finish up the sculpt and get it ready for the new textures, skin textures and substance. So that's exciting. It means I'm one step closer to being done. But yeah, we'll jump over here and we'll work out the UV islands, the placement. So what I have here are, I'm going to be working with UDIMs. And for anyone who hasn't worked with UDIMs before, UDIMs are pretty interesting in that they allow for a lot more detail in a texture on a model, because essentially normally what happens is that the model is using one square for all of its UV space, which means you're kind of limited to, even if you go to like a super big tile, the dimensions of the tile, you could do like an 8K texture, which is around 8,000 by 8,000 pixels, but you're still only restricted to one tile. What a UDIM does is it allows me to, what UDIMs do rather, they allow me to split the model up into multiple UV tiles, and each of those tiles can be pretty high res. So like I could have in this case, I'll see what I end up doing, but sometimes I've had like 10 tiles on one side. So it'd be one side of the model has 10 tiles. Each of those tiles can be 4K or 8K if I wanted them to be. So it's pretty cool. Lets me pack in a lot more detail onto the model. It looks really nice when it's being rendered. So we'll go ahead and start laying all that stuff out. And just move through the model. Usually, so what I was doing earlier, just before the stream kicked on, is I was making sure there was no sneaky little bits of geo that were like this here. That's actually attached, and I didn't realize it was attached. These are... That's the front flipper. Yeah, see here. This front flipper, I can maybe... what can I do here? So I could fully separate the top and bottom, which would give me 2 islands. It kind of, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm just thinking out loud here. It doesn't really matter how I do it, I suppose. Either way that I was thinking would have worked. But yeah, I'm just looking for little weird spots like that, like anything that's still connected that shouldn't be connected, anything that's overlapping. Overlapping UVs are no good. They really make things difficult when texturing, so I got to make sure all of that stuff is accounted for. Anything that's warping too much, I want to take care of as well. So I'm looking for like these green areas here, and making new islands for those, so that way they lay flat. I might take this all out here. This nostril is a little weird. Things that project outward generally need to have some sort of seam on them, because when they flatten out, they get kind of the brunt of the distortion. So I need to make sure that's not happening. So let's see what ended up happening to those. This is the nostril, the interior of the nostril. And where did this go? That's, yeah, see, this is now completely flat, which works. The inside, though, is still a little bit... Let's see. Maybe this will work. The other thing I don't want to do is I don't want to like chop the mesh up into tiny little minuscule pieces, because that's also annoying to deal with. Can be annoying to deal with. See if this works. Oh. Unwrap. This works better, I think. This little corner in here still. Let's see if I... Oh, that's way worse. Sometimes you can kind of nudge it and it'll get better, but sometimes it just makes it worse. So maybe around there is probably the best I can get it. Let's check out any of the other areas that I was looking at. This part here, let's see. That is getting really, I'm surprised it doesn't highlight it more brightly there, but that is more distortion that I want. So we're gonna have to take this out here so we can get it to lay flatter. As you can see how that's just like, that number there is just fanning out like crazy. So we want things to lie a little bit better. We'll do that, mark that as a seam, unwrap. So that, yeah, so see how that sits much nicer. Who knows where that island went now though. But the distortion seems to have gone, which is good. Let's see what else we can do in here. Is there anything else? These little spikies, usually you would want to unwrap those individually, but I don't think they're too bad. I think we're good. I think so. Just save this. Pop on over to the model so I can see how it's going. And then, okay, so when I start this out, figuring out the UDIM layout, what I like to do is I like to kind of scale to the largest piece that I know I'm going to have, like the largest single island that I know I'm going to need. And that kind of sets the scale for the rest of the mesh. So I could go, and the thing about it too is I want to keep a consistent angle on things. So if I'm setting this at an angle in relation to the grid, then I want to keep that in mind for the rest of the parts. And for that reason, I kind of, even if I'm not being able to scale it as big as I could, like I could angle it diagonally like this and scale it a little bit bigger. But I like to keep them I treat it like a side view. Like I imagine that I'm looking at the creature or whatever I'm UVing as a side view like this, and I try to keep the orientation, you know, up is up, down is down, left and right. You know, the left is usually the front of the animal, and then I go down the line. So for that reason, the torso is laid out like this, so that this is the top of the back, this is the belly, and the head's facing to the left, the tail side's going to the right. So I kind of like to deal with things that way. Making sure I'm not touching the edges here. It's nicely set into the square there. And then I'll just start. So now that I know the size of that piece, I'll start setting in the rest of the island. So that I know this is the face. Usually the face is, or the head is going to be on the front tile. Anything that is related to the face will also be there. So these antenna thingies, the pallets, the crests. I like to look at the model here too, so that way I know, like, because if I'm moving something and I'm seeing the texture move, I know I'm on the right island. You can switch up the modes in here to move around certain things a little bit, maybe easier, but I kind of just like to look at the model and see what I'm moving around. That's the crest. That's a nostril piece, so we'll keep the nostril piece on there because that's dealing with the torso. This is the neck, so we can probably put the neck on the head islands, or in with the head islands. What is this? What is this bit? Some of these islands are so oddly shaped. It's a very weird looking animal, to be fair. So, oh, these are, okay, these are fins. These are the back fins. These are the primary fins. These are the tiny little ones. Tiny secondaries. These are dorsal fins. So it looks like we can probably group a lot of the fins together. And then this is the tail. Tail is very long. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit that horizontally like this. Maybe what should have happened is that I scaled to the tail and not the torso. We'll see how it goes. So I can move this up. And I can probably add another loop or another seam on the tail if I have to. Make sure that's aligned in there. Grab these guys. And we have the tail here. So it actually, so this is 1, 2, 3, 5 UDIM tiles. So you double that for the other side, that's a total of 10. So I wasn't too far off. I mean, you can go pretty crazy with this stuff. Like you can divide this up in pretty much any way you want, really. Like I could take this whole thing and divide it in half and make a whole new tile for just half of the torso. I could like scale it way up and just have that be the head, you know, the head piece. But the thing is that Substance Painter, at least for me, I guess it might depend on the type of rig you are on. But Substance Painter for me tends to start getting a little bit angry if I have more than like 20. I mean, I have tried to push it further, but it does get the responsiveness does start to take a hit, and it's kind of annoying to work with when it does that sort of thing. So this number of UDIMs I'm comfortable using. I don't need it to be like ridiculously you know, like if this was like a real movie, like a film asset, I imagine they would have a ton of UDIMs for it. But I'm just doing this for fun portfolio stuff, so I'm not going to. I want it to be detailed and look nice, but it's not going to be on like a, no one's going to look at it on a movie screen or anything, so I think I'm good not having to worry about that. Okay. I mean, it is, you know, kind of important that I pay attention to how I'm laying things out here, because being neat and tidy is a mark of good craftsmanship, I think. So I don't want this to just look like super haphazard or anything, but what is this? What is that thing? What am I moving around here? What is that? Oh, okay. It's the inside of that area. I was like totally lost there. So I'll put this over here on the torso side of things. All right, let's take a look at these fins. This is the top. The bottom. Okay. We'll put these, we'll group these together up here. Let's see if I can actually do it. Probably do something like this. Won't be too big a deal. And then let's see this. I think I might. Maybe I should divide this up, like actually, instead of having it share share that inner seam. Might be better that way. Okay, so the thing is, I have done all this work to lay out all of these guys. And now I'm going to have to unwrap stuff. So I want to pin this so that those don't move. And then unwrap it again. And then these islands should be on their own. The problem is now they're out of scale with the rest of the model. So I'm going to have to kind of eyeball it. The thing about this though, it's not super bad. It's not too hard to eyeball it because I have my grid here. So you see how these are super tiny? What I do is I just scale it so that way the squares are more or less like similar size. They're not super tiny. There's not a ton of difference between the sizes of the letters or the squares. You can see they're fairly similar. Maybe a little bit small. And then I just set them in their spot, and then now everything can be unpinned. And I can keep working. Let's see what these are the dorsals. Dorsal fin, this is the underside, okay. Then we'll flip up here to the top. Actually, this needs to spin around. I think. Let me see. Yeah. So we'll keep these on this tile. Now the question is what to do about the tail here, because it's too long to fit in one tile. Maybe. Like I could, so the thing is, this might be a good way to explain as well. Like I could just shift these to and angle them like this, and then just like leave them, right? They're unwrapped, they're flat, they have their own UV space here. This would work. As long as I didn't plan on using any tileable textures that are like going to be pretty obviously tiled. Like it's kind of hard to explain. I'm orienting all of the islands, so that way there's a fairly seamless, I mean, if you look pretty close, you can still tell where all the seams are. Like you can tell where the grid stops and starts because it's such an obvious like checker pattern. But if this were to be like something, a different tileable texture like dirt or, you know, some sort of noise, it would be very, very hard to see the seam line there because it's so the flow of the texture is kind of being managed by the way that I'm orienting things similarly. So if you break that orientation, then you're going to get that's where you're going to get a more obvious seam line. So I tend to like try to keep that in mind when I'm working on stuff like this. It's not like the end of the world, I guess, if it's if they are like at a slight angle like this. I don't know if I will have to use anything super obviously tiled, but I don't know. I might go ahead and make it like try to manage this a little bit better, just in case, because you never know. And I really hate like once all this stuff gets going, like once you get into baking out the textures and like actually like going into substance and doing the texturing, this stuff can become really annoying to come back and adjust if you have to adjust it later. So I would rather just kind of get it done and you know, like measure twice, cut once sort of thing. Like I don't want to have to come back in here again and redo anything. It'd be super, super annoying. So let's just do that. Let's just take the time to do it. And then we'll be done. We won't have to come back and fiddle with stuff later. I think I could enlarge this just a little bit more or shrink it. Yeah, that's about the size that I would want. Okay. So this should be the layout. Just want to double check again. This interior, the mouth interior might actually need some attention. Because this is all, I'm treating this all as like one hunk of geo. But it might actually benefit from being cut in half here. So that way I have a clean top and bottom. I'll just pin those again and then unwrap it again. And then this island, these islands become really big, so we'll scale them back down. And orient them properly. Let's see if they look okay. There are like I could do something that's a little bit cheaty, like sometimes people will take like a focal point, like the head, and they'll just ever so slightly like scale the head up a little. That way it gets a little bit more resolution. And if you do that gradually enough, you can make it fairly seamless, so that way it's not super noticeable. Because if you do it too much, like if I made this like gigantic, right, in relation to the other stuff going on here, the texture will be it can be noticeably sharper, more detailed in the face, and then everything else will look kind of blurry. It can look kind of weird. So I don't know if I'll do that. We maybe could do it a little bit. Like I could shift this over by 1. And then we can put the neck in this here. I'll keep an eye on the face. Grab all of these. And slightly, probably want to increase the size of this too. Slightly grow these, scale these up a little bit. And then I could scale this up, scale the neck up slightly, so more than it is now, but less than I scaled these other guys. So it can get like a little bit of a fall off. So it'll merge into the body a little bit nicer. You have to be careful about that stuff though. I don't do it very often. More often than not, I just like accept that the things are the size that they are, and I like try to work around that rather than sort of artificially increase resolution, I guess. I don't know. It depends on who you ask, I suppose. Could maybe get away with a little bit more. Christian, which creature are you making? This is a creature that's kind of, it's made up essentially. It's an older creature design of mine that I started a long time ago, over 10 years ago. For a design contest that was on a website called CG Hub. It's kind of like, I don't know if you don't know about CG Hub. It's kind of like ArtStation, but it was like before ArtStation, basically progenitor of ArtStation. And the challenge was to make a creature that would live in the oceans of Pandora. So Avatar, the Avatar Pandora. And this was before we knew anything about the Way of Water. Like there was no concept art, no anything really, other than just like kind of like a rumor that the second Avatar film would be in the oceans of Pandora. So everybody was just trying to like imagine what a ocean creature on Pandora would look like, and that's kind of where I came up with this guy from. So he is an original creature, but he's like meant to fit into the world of Avatar, basically. Okay, let's save this here. All right, so now that I have this, what I can do is I can come back here. This is the working mesh. So I'm gonna, this is, it's so hard for me to like, I don't know. I try my best to like manage these names so that way I'm like kind of future proofing this for myself later, because there's been times when like I'll come back to a project months or even years later and I'm trying to like look through the kind of like the history of what I did to kind of like remember what I was doing. And it can be really hard sometimes just to kind of find your place again in a project that you haven't touched for a long time. So I try to name stuff correctly to kind of tell myself where I was, but more often than not, I just end up forgetting anyway. So I'm going to apply this mirror modifier. And that's a good thing. But what it does is now I have, see the tiles here. What's happening here is that I have both sides of the model stacked on top of each other. So there's two levels of UV texture islands on top of each other. And I don't want that happening. I want them to be entirely separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to edit mode. And then I'm going to select the side of the model that I just mirrored over. Make sure it's all nice and neatly selected. I'm not missing anything. Really double check that I'm not missing a poly or an edge or anything. And then let's see. It should have these should be the islands that I'm looking at here. I'm selecting. And then what I can do is shift them up one space. So I'll do that precisely. And then when I double it, you can see I have the bottom. So this would be the left side of the model down here. This is the right side of the model up here. So they're stacked and they're no longer like overlapping. So this is what I want. So this gives me, instead of 6 UV, 6 UDIMs, this is giving me a total of 12. So it doubles the number. And 12 UDIMs is within the range of what I find to be pretty manageable in substance. I think if I wanted to use more tiles, I would probably have to use something like Mari. I don't know how to use Mari yet, so I just kind of avoid it for now. I do plan on trying to learn okay, so this is good. I think I should be okay to go. Let me just think this through really quick. So the eyes will have their own material, their own EVs. I mean, I guess I could do them all on this layout, but they would just end up being their own thing anyway, kind of. And then I have teeth, but those will probably be on their own little sheet. So I think I'm good. Just thinking a bit here. These are some of those like kind of scary decisions because it affects it affects a few things happening down the line. So I just want to make sure that I'm confident in how I'm going to handle stuff. So I'm like kind of projecting myself into the future a bit in my head. I think I'll be fine. I should be fine. Okay, I'm going to export this and then we'll import it into ZBrush and start the process of reprojecting. So give me a second. I'm going to like switch my streaming view for just a quick minute. Okay, and I just need to open it up in ZBrush. Oh, that is wonderful. So it imported, but it imported at a way smaller scale, which is so sometimes this happens. I'll show you guys. This is like an annoying thing that can happen when popping back and forth between ZBrush and Blender, and that's my new mesh here that has the UVs that I need. It popped in, but it popped in smaller than the mesh that I'm projecting to. So let me see if I can figure this out here. It could be that my transformations were not correct on this mesh. And that's why it's messing up. So we'll see. Let's try it again. File, export. Export it again. If not, we might have to do this like, I might have to scale it up manually and kind of, it still did it. It's coming in very tiny. That is really annoying. Very, very annoying. But let's see. We gotta figure this out. The funny thing is, so this mesh here was exported exactly the same. I just exported it from Blender, popped it in ZBrush, didn't really do anything different, and it imported the exact same size, completely the right size that I needed. But this one is small. So I don't know. I don't know why sometimes that happens. But it can be super, super annoying. So while I line this up, do my best to line it up anyway. Just make sure it looks okay. And then we'll subdivide it, make sure everything's welded together. There's no holes or anything weird going on. Looks like it's okay. I really want to make sure though, so I'm gonna take a little bit of time here to really go over every little spot, because it's happened before where I'm like, I subdivide stuff and I start working and I think everything's okay, but then I find like a little hole somewhere. It's very frustrating. So just take a little bit of time to come in here and figure things out. Spitfire, hello, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Okay. I think we're good. Now I just gotta start projecting. So you'll see the joy that is projection. I hope so. Okay. I'm hoping that the stream does okay with the projection, because it can be a pretty process heavy operation to do. So I may expect some lag in the stream, depending. So if you see me get a little choppy, it may be because the projection is working. So I would ask a little bit of patience there, because projection can be a little bit of a long process. Okay, so I'm going to do, this is going to be a little bit repetitive. I'm going to store a morph target. Morph target helps me, if anything goes wrong, I can just brush over the area that's affected and restore this state of the mesh, which is a lot cleaner and nicer. So you'll see me go back and forth a lot. I anticipate problems happening in the face here, because that's where the problem showed up before. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So basically every time that I am projecting, I'm going back over and I'm just kind of making sure things are not getting super nasty. And I'm going to be paying very close attention to these tight spots here in the face, especially, because I know that the tight spots in the mesh are more than likely going to get some artifacting, some like crisscrossing of geo, just a little nasty stuff that you don't want to happen to your mesh. Tends to happen when you're dealing with very tight little spots. So we kind of have to go in there and like spot heal things a little bit, to use a Photoshop analogy. Stormfire, hey, how's it going? I just want to get this in a good spot where all of the pieces look okay. Doing all right. Nice. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Just trying to get this guy all prepped for texturing, which I'm excited about. Spent a lot of time working on skin coloration designs, skin patterns. Actually posted on X and on Instagram, asking, what people's opinions, asking what they thought. Kind of surprised at some of the responses, but overall, I think people were thinking of some of the same options that I was thinking of, so that's reassuring. You found my Insta while you were doom scrolling. Saw those, they look incredible. Thank you. Yeah, so now I feel like I have at least some sort of direction. And then, I'm going to just get the model nice and ready to texture. I have a little bit of sculpting to do, just like final sculpting. I was kind of waiting to do that until I could get the mesh pretty high poly. So now that I have the retopoed mesh, I can do that pretty easily. So we'll clean up the sculpt a little bit, then get it ready to texture. I'm really excited to get it into Substance, and I was having a lot of fun with like the coloration, like all the patterns and mixing the colors and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun to kind of finalize and refine stuff. Yeah, almost done. Yeah, and then we'll get into some rendering. Still kind of brainstorming some ideas for what that'll look like. Definitely an underwater scene, of course, but like underwater stuff can be hard to deal with in 3D. Usually involves some sort of volume to simulate the water, like the density of the water. And that stuff can get pretty heavy for computers to render. So I have to figure out a good convincing way to do that that's not super taxing. Otherwise, like, I'm a little worried that I won't be able to stream that part because I don't think the stream will handle those visuals very well, How long has it taken me to go to get here so far? So this is stream number 17. The streams are 2 hours each, so 30 hours. Give or take some time, because I'd have done some work outside of this, so maybe like, I don't know, I would say ballpark like 40 to 50 hours. Which, I don't know, it actually isn't that much time, like if you think about it, but because it gets spread out over so many streams, over so many weeks, it feels like forever. Yeah, I'm excited to finish. I'm excited to, see what we move on to. That's going to be fun. I have a lot of ideas for projects I can move on to and finish. There's lots of stuff in the backlog for sure. $50, give or take, still insane time. I mean, yeah, it's quite a lot, but like, I feel like it's fairly average for, at least for me, working on 3D models. They usually they can take between 40 and 80 hours, depending on what it is. Yeah, like some of the game models that I've done are around 80 hours. Some of the like more complicated dinosaur models I've done for various projects are around 80 hours on average. I'm assuming that's most high quality professional level models. You know, it's hard to say. Like, everybody has their own pace, as far as I know. Like, I actually haven't talked to many. It's kind of, I don't know. Some people like to talk about like how long stuff takes them to do, and some people really don't. And I kind of tend not to ask, just because I don't want to like pry or anything. But probably I'm guessing, unless I'm just like super slow. maybe people are cranking out models like 20-hour models or something. I don't know. I'm just a curious silly. No, you're totally fine. I mean, that's partly what I'm here for, like I have no problem discussing those different aspects of just making stuff in general. I think it's interesting. But yeah, I just haven't asked a ton of people like, how long does this take you? Or, because partly I'm just super shy as well. So when I should ask questions, I don't. So yeah, that's another thing that this stream is kind of helping me with, is just kind of gets me out here talking to people, gets me out here. It's hard to be like an introverted person and just to like pop in here and like try to keep talking for even just a couple of hours. Is some people might think that's really short, but for me it's a pretty long time to come in and chat, you know. But it's helping a lot. Let's see. So now I can move on to the next. Yeah, so we're going up. We're going up step by step. It takes a while, but this is like one of those phases where it just pays to be careful. The more careful you are, the more time you save in the long run. It might feel like a little bit of a drag, but it's worth taking the time to double check everything, fix every little nook and cranny before moving on. Because in projection, stuff like this just compounds. It'll get worse and worse if you don't catch it. I always try to figure out things on my own before asking. As a mostly introvert person, I understand and actively practice. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I wish I would have done more of this sooner. I think it would have helped me a lot earlier. But yeah, just like, you know, takes a while to get the confidence up to do something sometimes. The good thing about like this sort of thing that I've learned over time, because I used to feel pretty like limited. Like people in college, especially, they would always talk about like networking and stuff like that, right? And like you gotta talk to people, you gotta be friendly, you gotta like be get out there and make connections, all this stuff. And I just felt like I was at such a disadvantage because I was so shy. But the good thing about it is it's a skill, just like anything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. I still have my moments of like extreme shyness, but it's better than it was before, I don't feel as limited as I did when I was in college. Slow and careful wins the race, exactly, yeah. That's why I struggle with driving. Driving can be scary. My wife and I are going to be moving to California soon, like LA-ish. And I'm honestly like, I'm not looking forward to driving down there. I've been down there before and seen how people drive, and it is insane, some of the stuff you see. I am far too like I'm not like a road rage driver or anything like that. Like I'm definitely like more on the careful side, but that just means like people down there are just gonna like honk at me and like, some very aggressive stuff happens out there on the road. It's not the car itself, it's the people. Yeah. They drive insane. I've heard they're bad, but it's wish you guys much luck. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's just more like a stereotype, maybe. I have like I said, I've been out there, and maybe it could have been just the people that I was driving with, but I have seen some pretty crazy stuff. My wife went out there recently, and Um, she was driving with a friend of ours, and she said she saw some pretty insane stuff too on the road. So we're suffice to say, we're looking for an area where we can walk most places. I hope to be doing a lot of walking instead of driving. Yeah, I wish more places were like easily walkable. I really like walking to and from. Like if I had the choice of getting the car out and having to go someplace, I would rather just walk. Like if I had like a grocery store close by, or like just fun places like parks and stuff, cafes, things like that to go to, I would totally just walk there. So we're looking for an area that kind of has that sort of thing going on. Yeah, I was watching something pretty interesting on YouTube the other day, kind of talking about the way cities are built, and how like I don't know, it was talking about like a lot of American cities are mostly built to accommodate cars, not to accommodate people. So if you compare like a lot of cities, I think the guy that I was watching, he was talking about a city in Texas. It was like Houston or something like that. But he was talking about the way that the city was structured and how it's not walkable basically. And like if you compared it to an older city from, I can't remember what it was, like maybe Italy or Spain or somewhere in Europe, like how those cities are structured and how much more it like encourages people to just walk around. I was like, man, that would be sweet. Maybe my place of residence is A, boring to walk, B, not safe, especially for gals, C, too long to walk anywhere. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh. Autosave. Yeah, I'm looking forward to heading out to a new place. I think it's going to be fun. Lots of cool stuff to do, I think. Museums, conventions. We'll be fairly close to the beach, I think. So we can go hang out at the beach. Take the dogs for some nice walks. Stuff like that. It's gonna be fun. And I was looking around, like the area that we're looking to live, and I was looking at like game stores, like for collectible, like yeah, collectible card games. Like I like Magic. I like Digimon is a game I play and I collect the cards for. I was looking around, and there's actually a lot of those types of stores in the area that we are looking at. So I'm both excited and I'm a little bit worried because I'm like, oh, that's a little bit dangerous, you know. I can just walk to a game store and just like get all the cards I want. I have to watch out for my wallet. Unless they're very overpriced, yeah. Okay, so we're at level 4, in subdiv 4, going up to subdiv 5. So far, so good. Nothing's like broken on me. Nothing's like totally collapsed or anything, so that's good. Reprojection can be a little bit of a volatile process. Jealous autocorrect to Jesus. Yeah, autocorrect throws you some curveballs there sometimes. I'm always screwing up stuff in my text messages to friends. It creates some pretty funny moments though. Marcellus, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. That actually looks cool. Thank you. Yeah, he's getting there. He's got a ways to go. But we're getting there. Yeah, see the more subdivs I get on here, the more it's like aggressively trying to project all these little things in the mouth. It suits, you know, serves me right for trying to make such a complicated little area, but there might be, I probably have to resculpt a little bit because the morph brush is probably obliterating some stuff that I probably want there, but I don't think it'll be a ton of work to go back and resculpt some of these. I don't know, I want a baby of this species, would be sort of adorable. That's an interesting idea, yeah. Like what does infants, or yeah, like a hatchling of these guys look like? That would be interesting to explore. Like what is their, like do they take care of their young? Like do they form like a family group, or do they just like lay an egg and let it develop on its own, like very very hands-off-ish, you know? You could like make up the whole, you know, world build and think about the whole structure of the way they survive and reproduce. It'd be fun. Live birth, yeah, would be probably um, a lot of marine species that have like, I guess you would see it more in like species that started on land and then moved into the water. Like ichthyosaurs have had live birth, but they were reptiles. I think that makes sense for this guy. Pod type animal, yeah. I was actually thinking that too. Like, I don't think they would have like big pods. Maybe just like, maybe they work in pairs, like a bonded pair, basically. They kind of hunt together, or smaller groups, like groups of 3 or 4. That would be pretty scary, actually, if the 2 or 3 of these things were hunting you. Because I plan on making them fairly big. Like they're not quite orca size, but they're definitely big. Oh yeah. I think we're thinking along the same lines. Yeah, that'd be fun. I could like do a scene with multiple individuals. Maybe have some like variations on the skin coloration and pattern, just to kind of give them some individuality. Yeah, that's true. I could use a totally different pattern. Maybe. Ooh, that looks like a nasty little area there. What's happening here? Yeah, that's gross in there. That got really messed up in there. Okay. Sometimes you kind of have to project in just like little spots like that too. Sometimes that helps, especially if it's continuously getting screwed up. I still, I need to figure out a solution for these little areas that have the little teeth. I didn't really think of that before. It'd be nice to still have these little teeth there. It would be kind of a pain to build them into the mesh, the low poly, but I don't know. I might have to do that. That'd be crazy. A really little tiny little teeth. Have a good one. See ya, Storm. Thanks for popping in. Okay, let's see. Am I doing okay in here? So far, so good. I'm having a better time projecting this now than I was before. So I'm pleasantly surprised by that, I think. I wonder how high I'm going to need to go though to like capture what I want to capture. So let's double check. Yeah, I definitely need some more resolution. As you can see, like especially in these areas, if I go here, this is still blurry. It means there's not enough resolution in those parts to grab the detail that I'm looking at. So I need to go a little bit more, a little bit further here. Keep pushing it. And I can always come back and do little spot projections here and there on stuff that needs it. Ooh, why is that happening? That is nasty. What's going on here? I'm wondering what it's trying to project to, because there's no like surface popping out here that it would want to grab. So it's kind of strange that this is happening. It's very weird. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. For the most part, everything else is looking okay. We're getting up there too. This is subdiv 6 at 9 mil, I think. Well, is it? Let's see. I kind of don't like, so in the more recent versions of ZBrush, they changed up the way that the poly counts are displayed up there at the top. I'm pretty sure that means that it's 9 million and not like 9,000. But if you wanted to check for sure, there's a way to do that. It's just not, it's not where you think it would be as usual, because ZBrush always has to do its own thing. Yeah, okay, so 9.6 million. So what was this body? It was 10 million. So we're probably looking at probably another subdiv to get to, we're close. We're close to the target range anyway, I'd say. So let's go ahead and project here. You can see it's starting to take longer and longer to project. It's because we have a lot more data that it's trying to look at. For some reason, it keeps on chopping off my fins here, even though they're it's really weird. Really, really weird. Oh, I know. I think it's just because I keep on, I store the morph target when the mesh is too far out in like its previous state. And what I should be doing is storing the morph target when it's properly like projected to where it should be. That way it doesn't have to keep on kind of resetting the mesh like this. So I have an idea for how to fix that, but it'll take me a second to set it up. It's, you know, while I'm contemplating that, let's double check everything else and make sure everything else is looking good. Starting to pick up more of those very subtle details that I built in there, which is nice. We'll have to come back and reinforce a good chunk of that, I think, but overall it's doing a good job. And then what's cool is once we get this all projected, I can export some maps and then throw them onto the model in Blender, and we can start seeing a little bit more detail in there. Start kind of figuring out maybe some preliminary like ideas for rendering. This is getting kind of jacked up in here. I need to clean that up. This stuff is not good. It's because the head it's projecting from a head that is broken up into multiple parts. So you're seeing like the little artifacts from the separate meshes happening in here. Kind of annoying. I should have probably merged those. Before getting too far, but kind of have to deal with it now. So you can see how far it stretched that there. It's trying to project pretty far down. I could play with maybe like the projection distance and see if that helps. But I don't know. Sometimes it feels like it does stuff, like it actually works, and sometimes it doesn't. This area here, I might just mask out because honestly, this spot, it's consistently getting kind of wrecked in the projection. So if it's gonna give me a hard time every time, might as well like I can resculpt this area pretty quickly. It's just a few wrinkles here that it needs. Let's see what's going on in this mouth. Let's see. Yes, this stuff is not good. That stuff's not good. Okay, so that's the head taken care of. Let's double check some of these areas over here. Oh, I was talking about the, yeah, these parts here don't look great. I think we're probably gonna spot project some of these little pieces here. It's a little bit better. Still like overshooting the mesh a little bit. Let's see if I can get it to snap into place better. A little bit better there. And then these little areas here on the edges of the fins are giving me trouble. Let's see what we can do here. I think maybe all we need is one more subdiv level, and we maybe don't even need to project it because I doubt it'll pick up any more detail really. I'll probably have to sculpt in the remaining like little refinements that I want. There we go. That's the shape that needs to be there. Then we kind of have to do it to all of these fins though, because they're kind of all suffering from the same same issue, except for the pectoral fins. Those look fine, mostly. We'll just have to come in here and smooth this out a couple times and reproject until it snaps into place. I have to do this a lot. The whole process of doing this, like the reprojection, detail reprojection, it happens a lot, like in any process really, for creating meshes for games, or just like stuff for renders like this. But it really happens a lot when you're doing stuff for 3D printing. There's a lot of projection that goes on in those processes. Yeah, this is not great. What's happening here? That one's fine. This one's probably super jacked up. Yep. Got some crisscrossing of some geo there. So let's reproject this really quick. Smooth that out. Let's try reprojecting from here, see how it does. That looks better. It's a little tangled up there. I don't know why the, what's going on here? Geo got screwed up here. You have to check. The weird thing is you have to really check multiple subdivs to kind of iron out some issues like this. Because you might think that you've gotten it taken care of in one, like just it's finished and it's done, like you handled it, but you move down or up a subdiv and it's still there. So you really have to go through all the levels and smooth things out and make sure they're in their proper place, and then kind of backtrack. I think that looks fine. Possibly. There's a little bit of jankiness going on up here, but I think that's in level 1. I think I'm fine, I hope. Where else are there any problems? I think I handled majority of the issues in the mouth. This area kind of got obliterated a little bit. Let's see if I can I just focus in on this area just for a second. See if we can get this to look a little bit better before I go and do some hand sculpting to fix it. That looks better here. This part. This is not great. And then this is where the mesh is like separated. So that's why it's getting all janky there. I have to hand fix that. Fix that by hand, I mean. Okay. I think we're good there. Looks good. And now I think this is probably the final subdiv. We'll check. Let's switch matte caps really quick to something a little bit more revealing. Something that shows the form of better. Let's do grouse. So if we look at, so this is the new mesh, the mesh that we have been working on. And then if we compare that to the old mesh, the old mesh still looks tighter. Like it's still got more detail. So we'll probably have to project a little bit more. Let's double check the face. The face is close. It's the body, really. What can I do here? I think I want to mask out the head. I just want to see if I can get the detail on the body that I want. I'll mask out this area here. This is 38 million, I think. 38.4 mil. That's decent. It's definitely way higher resolution than what we were able to get. This is only, this mesh here is only 9 mil. So it's definitely higher. So we should be able to capture everything we need. This one might take a little bit. Just watch that. Just watching this bar climb up. Should be done here in a sec. I think it's done. I think it's done. Doesn't really give you a strong notification when it's done. Let's double check. We'll compare. So that's the old mesh that we're looking at right now. This is the new mesh. So you can see a very, very slight difference, but it's pretty minimal. So I'd say we're probably good there. The head is a little bit less detailed, I suppose, but it was like that anyway. Right here. And I think I'm fine with the I have to resculpt some stuff anyway. I'm gonna keep these old meshes here just because let's see, I gotta organize this. This is old. So I'm gonna keep that there just for a little bit. Once I'm confident enough, I'll probably get rid of these because these are just adding they're adding information to this file that I don't really need. So once I'm confident that I don't need them anymore, I'll get rid of those. Let's put the eyes back in here. Cool. So that is the reprojected mesh. So it's our brand new retopologized mesh. It's got all the UVs that we need to bake out stuff. Really what I need to bake out from here is just the normal map. I like exporting the normal maps from ZBrush. I don't really like to bake normal maps in Substance Painter. So that's why I go through this kind of process of getting the mesh with its UVs into ZBrush. That way I can subdivide and sculpt on it. So once this is established, I can just keep exporting normal maps out of here, and then the normal maps generate the rest of the maps in Substance. So that's really, like, we could technically just like start texturing stuff now, as long as I have this mesh to export maps from. But I think I do want to, now that I have this extra resolution, this is resolution that we weren't able to, it's a level of detail we weren't able to achieve on the older mesh because there's just limitations to how far you would want to subdivide. I think that was a Dynamesh or something, or maybe it was a ZBrush or something. But anyway, it's a less efficient mesh than this one. So I should be able to come, as you see here, I should be able to come in and start really like picking out little things that I want to emphasize. And then we'll do stuff to like imperfections, little scars. Like if you look at, I was watching, I think it was like a reel on Instagram the other day. And I was seeing, it was a orca that was spy hopping which means it was like raising its head above the water to like look for seals on the ice. But if you looked at the orca's skin, you could see actually, I think a lot of people think that orcas and dolphins are just have this like very smooth, like perfect skin. But if you, at least this orca, you could see a lot of like little, you know, there's little scars, there's little pits, there's some discoloration. There's a lot of little details on the skin, on skin that you would kind of think is just smooth, but it's really not. It's got some stuff going on. So I think I want to make sure that I add some details like that, like, you know, just kind of thinking of what this animal has gone through. So maybe it's gotten into some fights in the past. Maybe it's like brushed up against some really sharp rocks or coral or something in the past, and it's got some old scars, old healed over stuff. Maybe it's gotten into some encounters with some Navi that have like stabbed it with a spear or something, you know. Stuff that's happened to him throughout its life. Add that information into the sculpt. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this new mesh has turned out. I was kind of a little bit nervous about it while I was working on it. It's just because it's such a weird shape. That I was like not quite sure how to deal with, you know. But this seems like it's going pretty well. So yeah, you can see how I can start to sharpen up things even further in here. So we'll do a lot of that, and probably the next couple of streams before I really start to think about getting him into Substance Painter. I'm really looking forward to the Substance Painter part. Getting color on a model is always like the moment when you start to really see it like come together. Because up until now, like all of these different, I guess, the different component parts of the process are like kind of separate a little bit right now. Seeing them all in one cohesive piece is always really nice. Okay. I'm gonna head out, so I'm at my 2 hours. Got a good chunks done today, so I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, I'll just keep on moving on the model. I might try to get some work done on him before next stream. Depends on how things work out for me this week. But yeah, we're getting close to the new phase, a new phase of development for this guy, so I'm excited. Thanks everybody who stopped in and chatted with me today, everyone who just stopped by to take a look, those of you who commented on my post on Instagram and Twitter. Really appreciate the feedback on the skin coloration and the skin patterns. Really helped me a lot. Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you on the next stream.